Welcome back to Relatable Wisdom, the podcast where everyday people share the quotes that shaped how they see life, offering you daily doses of wisdom to carry forward. Today's guest is Ray Hartjen, a storyteller at heart who's won many hearts across 5 decades, from investment banking to writing books, and even performing with his acoustic band, the Chronic Padre. He's a cancer fighter who's learned not to take time for granted, and his motto, Punch Today in the Face, speaks to how he approaches each day. Let's dive into Ray's story and discover the words that guided him through life's unexpected turns. Tell us your name and what you.
Yeah, hello. My name is Ray Hartjen. I am a writer and a musician. I live in the United States, Southern California.
Okay. Thank you for accepting my invitation to be a guest on the podcast.
It's my pleasure, Wisdom. I like what you're doing. I like listening to folks, hearing their quotes, and then understanding, the meaning behind them and how, I can apply them to myself. So it's really cool that you asked me to be on the show. I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
We're getting started.
Okay. What's your favorite quote?
I have two. And they're kind of mottos that have that I've kind of like focused my life around a little bit. And I'll share the first one with you, Wisdom, and that is, if not now, when? And I'll tell you the background behind this motto. See, as I said, I'm a musician, as you know, and whenever I'm at a performance or at a gig, I always want to make a little extra money. So I'm always looking for like a motto to put on the back of a shirt. You can have the band name on the front, put a little motto on the back. Get paid a little extra money, right, by selling some merchandise. I'm always looking for kind of like a motto that drives me. Well, Funny thing happened along the way of leading my life that I just thought was normal. In March of 2019, I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma. And if you and other members of the audience aren't familiar with it, multiple myeloma is a blood cancer. And it's an incurable blood cancer, but a treatable blood cancer. And so I started treatment for that cancer in March of 2019. And I quickly started growing as a person because I wanted to address my disease and the treatments with it with kind of a growth mindset. And I remembered back to an exercise that I had done many times before in the past. And it's a timeline exercise. And I just want to share that with you and your audience right now. And so if you have a pencil or a pen and a piece of paper, great. If you don't, that's okay. If you're in your car listening to the podcast, you can just do it in your head.
Go ahead.
And so, if you don't have something to write on hand, you just do it in your head. You just draw a horizontal line from left to right, either in your mind or on a piece of paper. And on the far left-hand side of the line, you draw a vertical tick mark. And the far right-hand side, just a little vertical tick mark too at the end of the line. So on the left-hand side, you put the letter B, and that's going to denote your birth. You guys in the audience are already ahead of me. You already know what's on the right-hand side. You're going to put the letter D there. That represents your death. So right there is your timeline, your life. And so the introspective part is where do you think you are on your timeline? I know that tomorrow's not of us, right? But where do you believe in your heart? Where do you think you are on your timeline? And Wisdom, I used to look at this and just haphazardly throw my life where I am right in the middle because I was going to live forever, right? And so when I was facilitating this as a professional, I would tell, that's what I do. I'm about right here. Now, where are you people? So visiting this exercise again after my diagnosis of multiple myeloma, I recognized that, Ray, if you want to be honest with yourself, you're further to the right than maybe you thought you were before your diagnosis. So what does that mean? Right. So, I looked at my timeline and, where my mark is from where I am currently. And I started thinking about it, and I said, what does this mean to me? And it dawned on me that, like a lot of human beings, Wisdom, I felt as though I took time for granted. I took all tomorrows for granted and next week for granted, next month, next year. And depending on the topic, I might take decades, 10, 20 years just for granted. One day, someday, I am going to ... I don't know what that is. Depends on what the topic was. But I had all the time in the world, right? So I thought, I take time for granted. And I began to articulate that in my head. And then I thought, well, how does that manifest itself in my life? And what it meant for me, Wisdom, was that if I took time for granted, I took people and relationships for granted too. Because if I had all the time around the world, then my friends like Wisdom, they're going to be there tomorrow and next week, So if I'm thinking about Wisdom today, maybe I can reach out to them. But why don't I just wait till tomorrow or the next day, the week after, a month after, and so on. And so, I looked at that and I said, how do I want to utilize this to change my life? And that's where I came up with that motto and that quote, adopted that quote, if not now, when? What are the most
Now,
important I want to do with my life, and who do I want to do them with? Forget all the other stuff that doesn't really matter. What's most important and who is most important? So let me do that. Because if I can do that wisdom, at the end of every day, I can sit back with, a feeling of joy, a feeling of self-satisfaction, and a sense of inner peace. And don't we all want that, right?
yeah,
That makes for a great day. So if not now, when? I encourage the audience members out there, when you're thinking about that, how it might apply to your life, what are the things that mean the most to you? What do you want to get accomplished, and who do you want to do it with? Focus your energy on there. Let the other stuff kind of fall to the wayside. So that's my first of two quotes. If not now, when? And that's the background of how I kind of
yeah.
adopt it.
Before you share the second one, I just want us to like digest this one a bit, and then we'll
Absolutely.
go on to the second one. If not now, when? It's a very concise quote, but yet powerful. It gets you to reflect, and it gets you to start asking a lot of questions, because now you're like, okay, is this something I really want to
Not only does it kind of like focus you on what you want to do, but a lot of people, procrastinate a little bit because they're afraid of getting finished with something. And what I like to tell people when I speak with them about if not now, when, is don't worry about the end of what you want to get done. Just get started with it. Get started, and you will find your way to the end. But if you never get started, you're never going to finish. So don't get hung up on how difficult something might be, how long it's going to take. If it's something that you really want to do, if it's important to you, get started. Take the first step. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with that very first step, right?
yeah,
Don't just talk. For me, if not now, when has led to 4 books published. Those are things that I wanted to do. So when you're out there, don't get scared off by a big hairy audacious goal out there, something that you want to get accomplished by thinking about like I'll never be able to finish it. Don't worry about that. Get started with it. You're going to find that sense of satisfaction just by getting started with it. Do what you can today, and then what you haven't been able to finish, get at it tomorrow. And like I said, for me, it's been it's helped change my life to focus on some of the priorities that I wanted to do, and with the people I wanted to do it with. It's allowed me to build stronger relationships with those that are important to me, and build new relationships with people who are important to me, like you, Wisdom, and the
yeah,
conversation that we had before this episode. So it's been beneficial, and I hope other people find the value in it that I've found in it so far.
yeah, yeah. If not now, when? I feel when we focus on the experience itself, right? And we ask ourselves, is this something that I truly want to do? Now, of course, all these achievements and all those things, it's not like there's anything wrong with that. But sometimes I'll give you an example, podcasting, right? Now, of course,
Mhm.
I could make money from podcasting. I could do there's so many things, so many achievements I could get from podcasting. But I asked myself, I was like, how do I do podcast such a way? If there was, I could not get any of these things, and such that the experience itself, the mere fact that I just podcast, would be fun and interesting for me. And I was like, yeah, I could. Podcasting is me meeting interesting persons and connecting with them, having
Mhm.
genuine conversations with them, and then I post it on the platform. And now I do that, and so, of course, I want to grow. Of course, I want the show to be better. I know that just showing up, recording this podcast, that for me is a win. And every time I record podcast episodes, I'm happy. But if I was like, oh, I need to grow my show, and guess what? While we're having this conversation, I'm thinking, well, would this episode go right? Would this episode get a lot of listens? I don't know. What the guest is not saying something. The guest should say something controversial so that the episode will go right. And I'm not in the moment because I'm thinking of the destination. I'm like, oh, there. Whereas I just need to be in the moment and be completely in the moment and ask myself, how can I make the most of this moment right now? Let's take a quick pause. If you're enjoying this conversation and want more thought-provoking ideas straight to your inbox, join the Relatable Wisdom email list. It's free, quick, and filled with bite-sized insights, inspiring quotes, and behind-the-scenes reflections from our guests. Just head to relatablewisdom.com/join. That is relatablewisdom.com/join, or tap the link in the show notes. And hey, subscribing to the podcast helps more than you think, and it's free. So if you haven't already, hit that follow button wherever you're listening. All right, let's get back to the conversation.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of wisdom in your words, Wisdom. Sometimes we kind of get a little ahead of ourselves, but yeah, appreciating that moment, and living for it, and when you're when you do that and you find that happiness, that satisfaction, that gives you that joy and that peace of mind that you've done something that's consistent with your values, something that you want to get done. You're doing it the right way, and it makes you feel good. And who doesn't want to feel good, right? We all want to
Yeah.
feel good. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. If not now, when it's a reality check, because you're like, oh, let's say for example, one of your goals was I would write a book one day. I would document some of all these things, and I'm like, and I ask you, if not now, when? And it gets to start reflecting and ask yourself, do I really want to write a book? Because I think there are two things that reflect the things that are important to us. That is our time and our money, right? So
Mhm.
if I say, oh, I love someone, I should be able to find that time to spend time with the person, right? I should be able to, like, spend some of my resources on the person too, right? Now, but if I'm like, I love this thing, I love this craft. You see people who they are obsessed with football. You see it. You know that they're obsessed with you when you check their bank statement. You're aware. Oh, they spend this on the ticket for this. They went for this. Right? It's there. And I'm like, I go through your calendar, I go through your bank statement, and there is no trace of this thing you mentioned that you are in love with. And I'm like, okay, I don't really think that this is true, except you're trying to hide something from the government.
Yeah, and it's you have to be true to yourself. You have to, and I think it's important for people to understand what their values are. And you end up with a lot of times the value conflicts. That,
Yeah,
like, particularly in a lot of cultures, it's you got to work, got to work, got to work, got to work, got to work. Yet, what people say they value most is their family. And a lot of times, somebody's work, they spend more time at work than they do with their family. The work doesn't allow them.
yeah,
So when that
yeah.
happens, they feel a conflict inside themselves. It's like, man, I value my family the most, but I'm stuck in a situation where I can't spend the time I want to spend with them because I have to spend the time at work. And there's maybe some realities to that. You need the money. You have to be able
Of
to eat
course, yeah,
and stuff like that, right? But when you have those value conflicts, when your behavior is, whether it's your fault or you just feel like you have to do it, when your behavior doesn't match up with your values, it creates that conflict, and that tears people apart inside. They feel a lot of stress, anguish, anxiety, all sorts of negative types of emotions, right? So if, one of the things I also like to talk to people about is understand what your values are, and then, try to make your behaviors consistent with your values, and if this, the family that you love so much is truly a value to you, find ways to spend the time with them and your energy and your resources on the family. You'll feel better, and of course they'll feel better too. So understanding what your values are, and then understanding how your behaviors are either consistent with those values or in conflict with those values, certainly helps you out, I think, internally, and how you feel.
yeah. I love the fact that you shared stories to illustrate the quote, and I'm really, really, really happy you did that. It helps to drive the point home, and it makes it really, really, really relatable, which is the whole idea of the podcast. I see we have about 10 minutes left. So I'd love for you to, like, tell us and share with us the second quote.
You came close to getting to it when you were talking earlier about, like, living in the moment, right? The second quote that I use, also on the back of gig T-shirts for music, is "Punch today in the face." I
Ooh,
look at today as, like, I want to get today's attention. Today, wisdom is a gift. You've just started your day, right?
yeah,
It's a gift, and we both know that not everybody received today's gift, right? You know,
yeah,
well, how can we honor those people? How can we honor the day? And most importantly, how can we honor ourselves? And that is that we need to use today up. It's a privilege to be alive today. We have this gift of the day. What am I going to do with intent and with purpose? And so the whole idea of punch today in the face is I want to get today's attention. If today was a person, I'd want today to go, wow, Ray is here and he's doing things. And if you've ever been punched in the face before, it kind of gets your attention pretty quickly, right? It's like, whoa, what's that?
yeah,
So I want to use today up. Today has so much potential. I want to use it again for, if not now, when. What's most important to me? Who's most important to me? Let's use today up. So when I go to bed tonight, I can sit back and I feel like, hey, I made the most of the gift that I was given today. And then I can kind of look over toward tomorrow and say, hey, tomorrow, coming for you next.
yeah.
you're next. So, for me, those two kind of things, one led to the other. If not now, when? It's like, okay, these things I want to do. When am I going to start doing it? How about now? If not now, well, when? I want to plan it out. Like maybe it's something I can't do today, but maybe it's next Tuesday I can do it. Well, okay. If not now, when? Figuring that out, and then living for the day and seizing all the opportunity that isn't today, even if it just means sitting back with my wife, watching the sunset, holding her hand. That's important to me, and that's making the most of the day. So Punch the Day in the Face just kind of grew out of if not now, when. And I hope the audience members, think about those two things and can resonate with them, so they can, get started on doing the things that mean most to them with the
Yeah,
people that mean, and take
yeah.
advantage of each and every.
One final question, and then we'll wrap the episode up. And that is, has there been a day, right? Has there been a period in your life, right, where I know the quote is punched today in the face, but it felt like the day was punching you in the face?
Oh yeah. Yeah, happens all the time. I'm like I said at the beginning of the episode, I'm a cancer patient. I got a
Yeah.
little port here. I get chemotherapy. 3 weeks out of the month, and there's some days that you're worn out, you're taking some punches. And it's like, well, but today's getting the better me. I'm not getting the better of today, and that's, first of all, it's natural. And it's okay, as long as you don't like live there, right? Go to visit, those times, but don't try not to move in permanently. Sometimes the day gets the better of you. Sometimes part of the day gets the better of you. But wisdom, I believe that we control our own destiny, right? With our attitude. Choose the attitude. What do you want to do? And I like with my cancer fight, some people have a journey with cancer. I don't have a journey with cancer. I have a fight against cancer, because that fight metaphor just energizes me. It inspires me. It motivates me to give my best. Other people, that's fine. They work with the journey thing because they don't want to think about like winning and losing, and like a fight connotes. But for me, it works. For other people, a journey might work. So there have been plenty of times when the day's been getting the best of me, or I've just been letting the day get away, and I needed to like refocus. And like, I need to finish this book I'm writing. And so I just finished a manuscript for my fifth book.
Wow,
And so
congrats.
that was the thing that kind of drove me, again, is, sometimes you got to like catch up and get it done. But it's a good question. Thanks for asking it.
Yeah, because we need to be clear to point out that even though you said punch the day in the face, people should not assume that the day is just a regular weakling. The day is a worthy opponent itself. So the day will be coming up with ways to punch you back in the face. So it's like a fight, a normal fight, right? You punch in the face, you should expect to get some punches, and you dodge it.
Gotta slip them, and once you
uh,
get them on the
and you
ropes,
go back.
once you get your adversary on the ropes, you gotta take that knockout and then go on to the next day. But yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's with practice, right? At the first time when you enter the ring, sometimes they knock you out, and
Mhm.
and you come out and you're like, okay, we go again, and over time and over time and over time. Of course, you said it's natural. There are days like that where you're punched and all the plans go out the window, but then you're like, okay, okay, okay. Once you can see what things just like regular fights. Once you can see the things that are happening, then you're like, okay, okay, let me try and get up, and we'll go again, and you just keep fighting and fighting and fight. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Ray, for sharing your own personal journey.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been my pleasure, and I hope I hope not only that you've gotten some things from it and some value, but it's my sincere hope that the audience has your audience has some value. Anybody out there in the audience, if you ever want to reach out to me, you can hit me at any social media platform with my name. My name is Ray Hartjen, RayHartjen. That's my website, rayhartjen.com. Also
Wow.
on all the social media platforms. That's my handle, Ray Hartjen. So if you ever have any questions, if you ever want to talk to me about if not now, when, or punching the day in the face, or if there's anything that I can do for you all, let me know. It's my pleasure. And if you know anybody with multiple myeloma, please introduce them to me, because it's one of my passions in life is to help my fellow patients, their caregivers, and their allies fight back against the disease, allow them to live their fullest life, their best life, by if not now, winning and
Yeah.
punching today's face.
Yeah. Earlier on, you mentioned you write books, and I know we didn't get to discuss that, but we have about 60 seconds left. Can you give us a rundown of the four books you've written?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I think the one that's maybe most relevant to the conversation we've had today is a cancer patient memoir of mine called "Me, Myself, and My Multiple Myeloma," and in there I talk about things like the timeline exercise. And my most recent book, so a book that I've been wanting to write for years, if not now, when, is how it finally came about. It's called the Indy 500, a year-long quest to win the greatest spectacle in racing. And this is a product. This book right here is a product of me just living the motto, if not now, when. It's a book that I probably wanted to write for 20 years. So
Wow.
if not now,
Wow.
when, made it
Wow.
come about. So I'm
Yeah.
proud of both of those.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ray. It's been an absolute delight chatting with
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. And now I have another friend in Nigeria, which makes me
you. Yeah.
happy. That's cool. The world's
Yeah.
a small place, isn't it? So
Yeah.
this is great.
Yeah. That's true. I
Yeah.
never really did ask you. I just assumed you calling from the US.
Yeah, I'm from the U.S. Like I said in the intro, Southern California. Probably halfway around the world from where you
Yeah.
today. But it's great that here we are, get to talk about some cool things, and I get to meet a cool person and be able to count them amongst my friends. So it's been
Yeah.
my pleasure with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ray. You've been listening to Relatable Wisdom, and I've been your host, Wisdom Okonkwo. You've been listening to the podcast where every story, quote, and insight helps you see life a little differently. If you enjoyed today's episode, follow the show on your favorite podcast app and share it with someone who loved the conversation. For more inspiring voices and timeless wisdom, visit relatablewisdom.com. Until next time, keep living, learning, and collecting wisdom that matters most to you.